Dave Ridley here, reporting in from Henniker, New Hampshire. It's October 19th, 2007, and this is the Ridley Report. For any of you who are under the misimpression that only northern New Hampshire is beautiful, the little town of Henniker is just one of many towns that proves that impression wrong. Henniker is located about 20 minutes west of Concord on Highway 9. Basically, it's between Keene and Concord. I don't know the name of this river. Henniker is also home of the Pat's Peak ski area, which you probably cannot see today because of the fog. This part of the state is pretty close to peak right now, I think, in terms of the leaf colors. Henniker is also home to New England College. Henniker is also the site of Three Seasons Landscaping, which is on the scene of the town's former rail depot. Three Seasons owned by Rick right out here on the right. Rick bought the facility 2 years ago and began renovating it, both inside and outside. This is how the building looked back in 1960. Here's a shot from the days when the depot was active. Not sure what year this is. Another shot from the depot days. Of course, my dad here, who's visiting New Hampshire, is just eating this up because he loves railroads. This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by FreeKeene.com. FreeKeene.com. Are you a liberty activist willing to be on the front line against socialism? FreeKeene.com would like you to consider moving here to Keene. While Keene may have the largest number of liberty-oriented media outlets in the entire state of New Hampshire, there's still a need for more activists. This year, FreeKeene.com is running one candidate for city council, and they want 10 candidates in 2009. Can you help them? Visit FreeKeene.com to see what's happening, including the front page news about Julia Miranda's campaign for city councilor. FreeKeene.com hooks you up with all the liberty media in town. Join the Keene liberty activists and help free the beautiful city of Keene, New Hampshire from the clutches of the government. If you can't move, consider a donation of just $3 a month at contribute.freekeene.com. Now, more video from Keene. This is one of the spots I think is kind of pretty in its own way. There's some trees and hills that are earning their pay. Okay, so now we're about 3 miles east of Keene on Highway 9 going westbound. We just passed a Ron Paul sign, but I didn't photograph it. Not a lot of red this year, so I find myself kind of focusing on what is available.
It's actually doing.
We've crossed over the line into Vermont now. This is something you see a lot of in Vermont, and to a somewhat lesser extent, I guess, New Hampshire. Something else you see with some frequency in Vermont, abandoned houses. Taxes are much higher here than in New Hampshire and are said to have driven people away.
The old house.
But the beauty remains. Now we're no more than a couple miles from the New Hampshire border here in Brattleboro.
So did you get your
They say that sometimes these bridges actually break off and drift down the stream, and then they pick them up and put them back in place. I don't know if that's ever happened to this one. Another piece of trivia about Brattleboro here. I believe the Motel 6 here in Brattleboro is the cheapest chain motel to stay in the entire New England region. Of course, it's very close to New Hampshire, so some people do stay there when they first move here briefly. Brattleboro also on the map, on the Liberty map, because it was a town where people were running around nude a lot recently. There's no state law in Vermont against being naked in public. So many teenagers were doing it that the Brattleboro authorities finally passed a city ordinance against nudity. Here that's being challenged, and hopefully it will be done away with. The ordinance, that is, not the nudity. Well, I guess it's time to close off our story here pretty shortly with a couple shots of the rivers and mountains on the New Hampshire-Vermont border. Here we are now crossing back from Vermont into New Hampshire. This is Dave Ridley from NHFree.com, signing off from the New Hampshire-Vermont border. FreeKeene.com